Hello and welcome to the Navy Blue Corner. I'm Ian, joined as always by my good mate Lockie. And this week we are honoured to be joined by Carlton royalty. He's a Carlton legend, Carlton Premiership player, Norm Smith medal winner after destroying Dermot Brereton in the 1987 Grand Final. It is, of course, David Rhys-Jones. Oh my goodness, I botched the name there, which is a great intro. David Rhys-Jones. I'm just so excited. Joins us this week to not only preview our big clash against his former team in Sydney, but more importantly, to talk about a cause close to his heart and his upcoming challenge to raise awareness for the Prader-Willi syndrome. David, thanks so much for joining us. How are you going?
Yeah, good. Hectic here at the moment. I'm sort of flat out and I don't know what's going on at the moment. But anyway, it's always busy, so it's always good and you're up and going. So glad to be here and talking Carlton, of course, because, it's been one of those years, plenty to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's been a wild ride so far and a lot to go. And it's just great to have you joining us this evening. So I guess firstly, there is something a bit more important than footy to talk about that you're involved in. For those, watching and listening that aren't aware, could you tell the listeners a little bit about Prader-Willi syndrome, your upcoming challenge, and how the people can support such a great cause?
Yeah, but look, Prader-Willi syndrome, my son, who's 20 now, has Prader-Willi syndrome. It's a genetic condition from birth. Basically, the 15th chromosome, the chromosomes are what piece us all together. And the 15th chromosome, is not quite right. It's either... I'm trying to think of the word now. I'm getting old. It's basically either deleted or partially deleted, which affects the hypothalamus in the brain, which is basically what regulates. It can regulate everything from our hunger to our thirst to mood to body temperature, the whole lot. The hypothalamus sort of organises that and regulates us, but. And the people with Prader-Willi syndrome, they don't get that regulation, is it? Is that the right word?
Yeah.
And so therefore they suffer. I mean, where people have heard of it is these, and they did call it for a while their starvation syndrome, because people and kids who have this have an insatiable appetite, but they don't know when to stop eating, basically, which causes a lot of health issues, obesity and so forth. But we've had Cooper pretty well structured from early days, and he's ticking along okay, but he has his moments. And as tonight has shown, I'm sort of a little bit late coming to you guys, but it was that's just part and parcel of our life, and we get along with it. And and we run our major fundraiser. I'm the ambassador for the Prader-Willi Syndrome Association of Victoria, which allows me to get on shows such as this and talk about Prader-Willi syndrome and make people understand it a little bit more. You could see a person in a shopping centre stealing food or whatever, that's how they sort of operate. They can't help it. They're hungry as far as they know, and they need to eat, and food's there. They'll go for it. Cooper's been pretty good so far, and we kept him in pretty good shape. So but we run our fundraiser in May, and so if people want to look up the 15 for 15 challenge, I've got a public page on Facebook, and people can get all the details and that through there. Or you can just go to 15for15.com.au, I think it is. So, the great thing this year, we're actually giving away a luxury, or one person will win it in a raffle type situation, a luxury trip for up to 6 people to Bali in a fantastic resort over there. And dig in and you could win as well.
No, absolutely. It's a very important cause, one that definitely deserves your attention and awareness. Links to everything to donate will be in the description and in the show notes. And of course, to David's 15 for 15 challenge. What are you getting up to this year? Because you've had some great challenges to date. Very excited to know what you've
Yeah.
got in store in
Well,
2024.
the first couple didn't work too well. I sort of got on that fitness kick and thought I'll do push-ups or something the first time. And then I I smartened up a bit, and I visited some of the blokes I'd had been into battle with over the years, and blokes from Collingwood, Essendon, everyone I spoke to who come on, they come on board straight away. It's a great community, the football community. So people are only too willing to help, which has been great. This year we're going to look back on 15 of. There's a PR company who is sort of handling this a little bit more than I'd like, because a bit more lowlights and highlights, I think, on the coming up. But anyway, you do the crime, you do the time. So I've got to pay for that. And, so 15, just 15. We picked out occasions, highlights and lowlights sort of throughout my career, and it'll be a bit of fun.
Yeah, no, you've definitely been through some amazing things and have some of the most interesting stories out there. So, yeah, for those watching and listening, make sure to tune in. Make sure to donate. Links will be in the description and the show notes. Of course, if you can, all goes to a great cause. And obviously, while we're here and while we have you, David, we'd love to talk about Carlton, as we do each and every week. So kind of just keen to get your thoughts to start with on what you've made of the season so far. Started off maybe not playing the most perfect football, but getting wins on the board. Now, after playing a few of the top teams in the league, kind of sort of splitting the wins and the losses, how have you seen things play out so far?
Yeah, look, overall, I'm pretty happy with the way we've been going, and we've been able to get over the line most times. So that's been a bonus, considering our lengthy injury list and players coming in and out of the team, regularly. 3 or 4 changes a week doesn't help the stability of the team and getting to play alongside each other, and things changing all the time. But we're starting to get a few players back now, so I think. We get a couple more back. We're going to be hard to beat. We've been able to play I reckon, some of the best footy I've seen anyone play. Our first bit against Melbourne last week, we just smashed them in that contested ball, and we're really able to just dominate that game and dominate the scoreboard, and that was great to see. But well, I think we're going to try and get 4 quarters of that and make the Carlton supporters breathe a little easier too, because it's been hair raising at times, and sort of I wouldn't blame people for going grey what Barrack for Carlton at the moment, because they get in that negative type of style, and even I was at the game, went to the first game I'd been to this year last week, and to be able to get there, and I know 10 minutes into the last quarter, I'm thinking, kick a goal, kick a couple of goals, get the ball into our forward line. And next minute I see Charlie Curnow in defence, and I'm thinking, how are we going to kick goals, And they look like they're trying to save the game more than win it. But they got the 4 points, and good on them. So you've got to give them credit for that.
Yeah, no, it sounds like we're very aligned on the current state of things, David, for sure. Are there particular players that have impressed you so far this season? Or you mentioned the injuries, like, are there players on the sidelines that you feel like we're missing? Who are the specific guys that are standing out for you at the moment?
Oh, look, I mean, we're lucky, and we're in a great position at the moment. We've got 5 genuine A-grade players, and that's what you need to go deep into finals and win premierships. And you look at Cripps, Walsh, Curnow, Mackay, and you got Wiedering at the back. And we've got some other, Sard and a few of the other boys. We've got some talent there. Jack Martin, he had a run last week. He's going to be all the better for that, and he's a great talent too. He's a very, very smart footballer. So we start getting the players back and get around them, and going to be hard to beat. But the one who's
Yeah.
really impressed me has been Sam Walsh, just coming back from that back injury, and you just didn't know what we're going to get, and you just get a better version. He's
Yeah.
come back from serious injuries and just being able to and getting to the game, where I was on Thursday night. Every other game I've had to watch on television, but you see his work rate and how hard he works, how hard he runs up and down the ground, and quite a few of them too. I mean, Blake Acres and Ollie Hollands. Ollie mightn't get much of the ball, but he's in position all the time, and he's up and down the ground. And so, yeah, they work pretty hard these days and do a hell of a lot of unrewarded running, I think. I'd rather run to where the ball goes and get it rather than running up and down the wing all day and not getting a kick. Doesn't sound like much fun, but they're playing. They're playing their roles, and the good thing is, as I said, we got those A graders now who can win games of footy for you and win the big games too. So we're in a great position for a few years now, and hopefully it all unfolds the way we want it to.
Do you feel like those A graders and those role players all gelling together? Do you see us as genuine contenders this year? Can you see us going all the
way? Absolutely. And I think losing last year was a good thing. Losing that preliminary final, having a good dash at Brisbane early on, and they've had the whole summer to think about it and realise where they're at. And you look at the age of the players. They're mid to late 20s, which is when you're playing your best footy. That's when you've got a lot of knowledge about the game. You've got a lot of experience, and your better players should be, all players really should be at their peak at that sort of age. And well, even players now are probably going into their 30s and still being very, very productive. So let's hope it continues. But I'm very excited about where we are and what we can do, and I think we've got. There's certain things around the club at the moment, and it's right across the board. It's at club level, management, the right people in the right positions everywhere, I think, and that's what's great about the place at the moment. 100,000, of the members out there, fantastic. I mean, that's just terrific, and helps a long way in building the club and getting us to where we need to be.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. Like for us, we haven't seen obviously a lot of success live. So this is really the first time, I think, comparing it to kind of the 2010s when we started to play finals. That still felt like it wasn't perfect, that we were a finals team, but we needed quite a lot to get us to become that premier. Right now, it feels like that window is right now. And I guess you touched on it well with that experience that we're getting from these players now. And I mean, so many of them last year hadn't even played finals before. So just so much, I guess, you can learn from that. So now that you've spoken about the positives of the list and where you see us as contenders, what do you think we need to do to kind of take that next step from kind of what you've been able to see over at least this year?
Oh, look, we still need a better connection with our forwards. I think that's where we can really start to dominate and coming through the middle, and I think having Jack Martin down there is going to be handy for that as well. He's another real weapon down there, and you got the three tools down there. You got Jack Martin, and allow us to then. Makes it hard for those small forwards. He's kicked a few last week, so he sort of holds his place, and Durden hasn't been performing as much. Orazio didn't do a great deal when he come back. So, there's a bit of pressure on players to hold spots, and that's the other great thing. It's, players now will realise, hang on a minute, I get my opportunity now. I've got to hang on, and these guys have got to play the game that they need to, and to be able to hold their spots, and because there's players coming back. Sard will be back soon. Marchbank will probably come back in. You got players coming back, and if you're not playing, you look at Chincotta at the moment. He's playing like a guy who doesn't want to lose his spot. So it's and Kemp's another one who did go back, and yeah, so, there's pressure on spots, which is, go back 4 or 5 years, there was, we're giving blokes 50, 60 games a year sort of thing.
100%.
And a lot of spuds got.
No,
That's
it's
what
great
happens
to
when you're
see.
down there, though.
Yeah,
It's true.
look,
It's true.
it's great to see. I think at the moment that a guy like Hollins as well can absolutely go back and takes a week off and then come back in, and they look so much better for having that break or having that initial run in the team. And the competition of spots, it's crazy. Like, I can't wait to talk a little bit later on team selection, because it's unfortunate there's more injury news that has broke tonight at time of recording. So there are some big changes that potentially need to be made. So it'll be interesting to see where that all goes. But the last thing I want to touch on before we start to talk about the big game against Sydney is something that was a bit prevalent in this game, and something that maybe we do need to go to that next level. So really keen to get your thoughts on that. I guess inability at the moment for Carlton to shut out games, and particularly against the really good sides when we are on top, not letting them back in. We know that obviously happened against Melbourne, and this year our average winning margin has been quite slim. I think it's about 15 points. It's not ridiculously high. So how do you see that as a bit of a problem at the moment for this group, and not being able to finish the job in these games? And if so, how do you kind of overcome that? Is it something that's game plan, or is it a bit more mental from what you're seeing?
Yeah, I think it's a combination. I think we always had the attitude to hit that scoreboard, and that's where you put the pressure on. It's a little bit different the way the game's played now, and it's that defensive side of it becomes so important. But you give teams that we give Collingwood a chance the other week, and they took it. And if you're going to be playing tight games of football, you're giving the opposition a chance to win it. So I'd rather be 3 or 4 goals, 5 goals ahead at 10 minutes to go, and not having Charlie in the back line than playing the way we are at the moment. But you've got to give credit; they're still winning games of footy. So we've got to cop that as well. And but I think when we do get some quality back into the team, I think we're going to see us play a different way. I think we'll be a lot more structured, and hopefully the big guys. Neither of them's really kicked the bag this year, so I think and Sydney's a great ground this week. It's a great ground for forwards. Big bags have been kicked up there over the years. Centre half forward gets a bit lost, but the full forward position. You come out of that middle, you're going straight to the full forward, straight to the square. So you get every opportunity. So hopefully we can play better than we have been playing up there, and let's get a win up there.
Absolutely. So taking a look at the Sydney clash, and they're absolutely firing at the moment, playing some amazing footy. What have you kind of seen from Sydney that we need to be wary of, and what do you think that we need to be able to come away with the win?
Oh, they use the ball so well. They got some real smart players: Gordon, Heaney, Warner. These blokes through the midfield, they're quality. But the good thing is, our midfield's up and going. Cripps, Walsh, Chera won't play this week, but Hewitt's in there. We can match it with the best midfield. So Kennedy can do a job. So hope he might grab Heaney this week and try and put him out of business. So I would have liked to have seen Kennedy go back and play on Petrarca when Petrarca, that was really the only move Melbourne made last week was Petrarca forward.
Yep.
And we didn't have a backman who could really handle him. And I thought Kennedy was doing such a good job. You would have loved to have seen him, go back, and it's a good challenge for him too. And he's gone back a few times this year. They've put him back a few times. So it's not as if he hasn't played there. It's not as if it would have been foreign to him. So, geez, Petrarca, and they, hopefully he can do a job on Heaney or someone like that this week, and then could be the same thing. They could have to roll Heaney forward and release him that way. But let's hope we can get the ball down our end of the field a bit more often anyway. Someone said McCartan won't be back this week, so that'd be a bonus. I mean, our big blokes should really worry their back line, and I think Blakey might be injured too. Not too sure about that. So I think he was hurt as well. So anyway, yeah. The more injuries for the Swans, the better for us.
Definitely, because there's so many that
We've
seem
had
to
enough.
keep creeping up for us. We just need more players back. We can't have more to keep making their way out. It's definitely far from ideal. I guess looking at this, it's interesting when you kind of look at Sydney and how they lay out. Like, their midfield's so strong, but I guess without McCartan down back, you can definitely exploit their defense. I know they set up so well, but without key personnel, you're always licking your lips with that. And knowing we have the two beasts down there, and then I think forward of the ball for Sydney is still something that slightly lacks. They don't really have that clinical key forward. They have kind of a plethora of smallest mid-sized players that can really get off the handle and score against you, but as far as the tools being ridiculously damaging, that might be something that plays into our hands. How are you kind of seeing what they're able to do and put scores on the scoreboard, and how do you think we'll be able to handle that?
Yeah, well, we're going to put pressure on them up the field. Their midfield coming through, and you let Errol Goulden loose and spearing passes into. You don't have to have big key forwards down there when blokes can pinpoint from 50, 60 metres and hit a bloke on the tits. So it's that's what they can do. They can tear teams apart just with their foot skills and their run and ability. But and that's where we really have to look at it. That midfield battle is going to be the real key, and who can get on top there. And I'm hoping it's a Dower type of game, and our inside mids can really sort of put the heat on and put the pressure on. But they got quality right across the ground. Grundy's been a great get for them. So I don't know about Pitnet, whether he's going to play or not. They're still up or no. Was that the one you were talking about? He won't be playing, or?
Yeah, well, there's that one, and then Cottrell as well apparently now has a stress reaction in his foot, and they say they're going to reassess him, which is the new terminology I like that Carlton have decided to come out with. Apparently you can't just say he's X amount of weeks away. It's now we're reassessing him after the bye, which I think our last game before the bye is round 14, so it'll be like round 15 or 16. He might potentially come back. So yeah, definitely not a good one to have, because he's been in really good form so far.
He has.
Yeah, he has been. He really has been. And him and Akers and guys like that, I think have been, Newman's been another one I think has been really important for us as well.
Mm-hmm.
And these lesser lights are performing, and they're playing, a bit more than their role as well. They're able to get forward, Cottrell and Akers in particular, and put goals on the board when we've needed them, late in games. And that's just through their run and their effort and their ability and they want to get down forward and do something. So, they've both been terrific. But, Cottrell is going to be missed. But there's a few others I'm glad they're not part of that. But he can be replaced. He should be able to be replaced pretty easily and seamlessly. So I don't think it'll be that much of a problem.
Yeah, beautiful. So let's jump into the team selection. Keen to get both of your thoughts on this. So I'll actually just ask a bit of a question on how we used the sub last week, because Lockie's been quite big on this throughout the season, maybe not being ridiculously happy with how we are using the sub. I know Lockie tends to like a bit more of an attacking player to come on later in the game. We obviously went with George Hewitt, which was interesting to see him not start and then be the sub. David, what did you kind of make of that move, and how have you kind of seen the sub so far?
Yeah, it does. You scratch your head a few times looking at the sub and who it is week in, week out. I didn't think, I think they're rotating those midfielders as well. And I think George was given a little bit of a spell last week. Worked out well for us with Chera. Actually, we didn't want Chera to get injured, but being injured, there was a bit of a like for like going out and in. You got a midfielder for a midfielder, so it didn't hurt us that much. But Yeah, we've sort of looked at it throughout the course of the year, and there has been a few surprises there on that sub part of it, but well, it's worked out all right for him.
Yeah, Lockie, what did you make of the sub?
Yeah, I don't mind like David said, kind of sharing that load and taking like a broader approach to the season and not, overworking guys and giving them those little spells. I think it's more impactful. Like, I think when we see the small forwards as the sub, they just don't tend to have that impact if they come on late. So I like this better, but yeah, our choice of sub this week might be a bit tougher again with some personnel out. We'll see.
Definitely. So I'll quickly run through some of the injuries that have been sort of announced at this stage. So Chera obviously will miss. He'll be reassessed in 3 weeks with the hamstring. Williams with the glute is a test to play this week, along with Pito with coming back off some surgery to his finger is a test to play. Fortunately, yes, Cottrell with the stress reaction in his foot will be out for a while. Cunningham, another frustrating one. Feels like he's literally week in. His first week back, he gets injured every single time. Yeah. He's going to be reassessed in 3 weeks with another calf strain. Good news, though, I guess, on the other part of this, maybe not for this week, but coming up is that Motlop and Sard are 1 week away and Fogarty is 1 to 2 weeks away, which is very exciting. So, David, how are you kind of seeing the changes for this week with obviously Chera and Cottrell not being there? How are you kind of looking to replace things?
Yeah, look, I think young Jackson Binns had 42 possessions or something last week in the VFL. I mean, maybe we give him an opportunity. I mean, it'd be a great chance for him to, come up against one of the best midfields in the competition. But he's a bit of a ball magnet in the VFL, and he hasn't really had a chance yet. The opportunities he has got have been limited. So, I'd like to see him get a run at it. Obviously in good form. So, play your players who are in form, rather than, players who are not in form. And I think, with all those guys coming in last week, it was, there were quite a few who hadn't played for a long time. You're bringing in Martin Cunningham. I'm trying to think the other two who come in last week. And
McGovern.
McGovern had been out for a bit. He's a bit different. He's a marking type option. Reads a play back there, and he's a bit different. And was playing good footy when he went out as well. So, we need him up and going as well. So, it's tough, and the injuries have taken their toll. On us, but we've been able to replace them, and guys have been able to go out there, and I call them foot soldiers. They've been able to go out and play their role, do their job, and allow us to, use our better players, our A graders as such, to help us win games. So that's how it's been working, and Fogarty's one who's going to be, he's been missed a lot just through that tackling pressure and the pressure, that forward line pressure that he applies to. So be good to get him back in there as well. But it's tough, players coming in and out week in, week out. But we've been able to, the other Hollands, Elijah Hollands, he shows a bit too. He's a player I think we haven't seen the best of yet. I think he can get better. I like the way he moves. Yeah. He moves really well. He just goes across the ground. He's well balanced, and he can get out of tricky situations. So he looks like he could be a pretty good player to come on later on in the year as well. But these guys, what's he played? He's played a dozen games maybe, or what have he played so far? And they're all still getting to know each other, and with all the ins and outs week in, week out, that just doesn't help us solidify the either the back line, the forward line, or even the midfield. The midfield probably hasn't been as hard hit, I suppose. Cripper and has been in there every week, so he's been able to lead the way in there.
Yeah, I guess on sort of like the injuries and probably the lack of continuity that we've had at this stage. From kind of your experience, if you ever gone through patches where the teams you've played in have been quite injury riddled, and how have you kind of, as a group, do you deal with that? Is it tough mentally when I guess a lot of your best players aren't out there. How easy is it to buy into, I guess, the mentality of that next man up that has been heavily preached so far from Voss and co? Does it play a big role for you guys, or is it, do you just kind of go out there and play?
Well, that's where you need your depth. That's where you need your depth. And I was lucky enough, when I got to Carlton sort of thing, we were, we're pretty strong in both the seniors and the reserves. I think, we won the premiership in '86 in the reserves and also in '87 as well. So, we had a lot of talent below, which was, and that's what we're starting to build now. We're starting to get guys who come up and can play at the level. They're not weak links or anything. So it's important that you do have a solid base below as well. You're not going to get through a season. You're probably going to play 34, 35 players sort of thing on a good year, and so all those players have got to be able to stand up when they need to and be able to get in and fill a spot and know, probably more so know the role they've got to play within the team. I think that's what we see is more important now. And that's why I call them foot soldiers. A lot of them out there, they're just playing their role, and they're working hard up and down the ground for each other and not getting too much rewarded, but they're doing what they have to. And it does look a different game these days. I mean, in some ways like that, but I think we've got enough now to so hopefully when we do get some good players back, we don't lose too many more, because I think our best 22 is going to be very hard to beat.
Yeah, no, absolutely love it. I guess a topic that has been spoken about a fair bit, and it feels like it rears its head every week as soon as that injury report comes out. The heat goes on, Andrew Russell and the fitness staff. Do you have much of an opinion on how you see things as far as the injuries that we seem to continue to get week in, week out, the management of players and even maybe overall fitness? We sort of struggled to run out that game against Melbourne. Is the fitness, to kind of throw a blanket on it, is that any concern for you at this stage and how we're managing players throughout the year?
Yeah, look, I don't know. And even when I was playing, it seemed to, some blokes just tore hammies. Some blokes didn't, and so, and I think that's what you got to look at when you're recruiting and you're looking at getting players in, sort of thing. If they they're no good sitting on the sidelines for us. So we need them out there and playing, and especially our top liners, and we have struggled with that, but it seems to be the same players with the same injuries. Chera hamstrings, becoming. But you look across a lot of the teams, and they got the same problems. And I don't know, the amount of running they do these days is probably not surprising that there isn't more of those soft tissue injuries anyway, because they are working bloody hard up and down the ground. They it's not like we were back in the day playing your position and I played in the wing and you sort of moved up and down the ground, but you're probably besides the midfielders, the only ones who really did get up and down the ground. But your half forward flankers now. You see them on the half-back flank, regularly now. So it's just the way the game has changed.
No, it's definitely something that we have probably had the exact same opinion. So I'm glad to know that we're 100%. Not alone on that one, which is good to hear. Lockie, your kind of team selection this week, I'll throw it over to you. How are you seeing things, and how are you looking to replace some of the injured players that we have this week?
I think David hit the nail on the head with kind of those clear ones. I think it makes sense to bring Binns in for Cottrell and give him a full run with that sub game that he had the other week. Give him a full game. Makes a lot of sense. I think Hewitt coming in for Chera as well just kind of is the obvious one. It's the Pitto one that's a worry for me. I'm just so enamored with him this season and how it's working with the two rucks. I genuinely... I struggle to remember what we looked like without Pitto in the team now, and TDK and Harry being the two guys. So I don't have a clear one there if he doesn't get up. If he had a finger procedure this week, you'd think it feels unlikely. But yeah, where are you at?
I'm very similar, very, very similar. I've got the exact same changes with that. I think with Pito, it's hard. Like, maybe a Cunningham type would have been the player I'd be looking to bring in, a more kind of mid forward that can kind of play a multitude of roles, but we don't have a lot of those. It feels like the best player available to throw in, and I guess that way you can rotate elsewhere, is maybe Zach Williams, if he's ready to go, if they trust him. I know he's a test, but I don't know, do you just give him another week to make sure he doesn't re-injure, particularly after missing last year with the ACL? Potentially, is he better maybe as a sub for some minutes? I'm so not decided on that other player to come in to sort of change things up. How are you kind of seeing Zach Williams at the moment, David? Is he someone that needs to come straight in, or is everyone else kind of holding their spot right now?
Yeah, look, I think if he's right, he comes in. He's a player who missed a lot of footy last year, so we need him in the team, and we need to generate some run off our back line. We really do. Sard and Williams will be those two. They'll be the players who'll carry the ball and deliver forward. So we need them in the team and getting that play, but. Pito. Look, if Pito's not out, I wouldn't be overly perturbed about that. I think, as we saw early in the season, TDK and Harry can get in there and do a bit of ruck work, and I think it helped Harry a little bit early days, doing that ruck work, getting up around the ground and getting a touch on the ball. If he is playing forward, I think one of them would have to play high, either him or Charlie would have to play high and just keep the other one deep in the forward line. And it's a different ground, Sydney cricket ground. So I don't think losing the taller player would hurt us that much. I'm not sure if Marchbank might come back in. I think he's in Vossi's plans to be a defence, be part of our 6-man defence. So. And maybe he comes back in. I think he had a fair game as well last week, so in the VFL, and he got through that all right. So he may be one to come in as well, we just go back to having TDK and Harry in the ruck and rotating through there. So that's there's plenty of options there, and that's the great thing about it.
Yeah, no, the Marchbank one was genuinely going to be my next question, because my last kind of change at the moment, it's stiff because I think Cowan's played really well, but I would have Marchbank coming in this week, particularly around the forward line of Sydney. They like to play tall. You've got Amadi, McDonald, McLean. I guess, Hayward is not necessarily tall, but he can play as that marking target. Mm-hmm. Do you think we need that extra little bit of height to help Gov, Wiedering, and Kemp, just a little bit more physicality down there? And do you have any idea on what kind of matchups you'd be looking for as well?
Yeah, well, you picked it real well. They've got they've got some tall timber down there. They're not the most well-known players around, but they can deliver. And the thing about it is they're dangerous at their feet too. So they've got some great crummers. I mean, Papley's probably one of the better crummers in the competition and one of the best small forwards. A pity we didn't get him a few years ago.
Imagine us now.
How would he be running it? Well, 10 years ago, and Eddie Betts from 10 years ago running around at the feet of Charlie and Harry, he'd be having a picnic down there. But which frustrates me a little bit about our small forwards, because they just can't seem to get it yet and hit those front of the packs and I look back in my day and Fraser Murphy and Adrian Gleeson, these guys, they hit packs at pace and just kept going, kicked goals, and made it very, very difficult for their opponents. But I think Chincotta will probably grab Papley anyway, and from what he's been able to do so far, he's been able to nail a few. So hopefully he can put him out of business and. It's going to be interesting. It'll be an interesting game, and as you say, it all revolves around who's playing, who's not. Whether Blakey plays, doesn't play, McCartan comes back in or not. For them, we're going to look at them as well as what we have, and and it'll be fun and games once it starts. And I think that contested stuff. I think we can really take it up to them and bully them a little bit early, and get some score on the board and make them chase us.
Absolutely. So that kind of goes to the last segment we kind of have here, which is our what do you want to see? Every single week, we obviously want the win. That's clear, but we want a little bit more specific nature around this. So I'll throw it to you, David. I'll throw it to you as well, Lockie. If you have one or two things that, apart from the obvious win, that you would like to see this week against the Swans.
Oh, yeah, okay. I want to see a bit of niggle. I want to see a real bit of niggle. I love it. The last few weeks, please. I mean, 2 weeks ago, I think it was Nick Newman who really got under the skin of, those Collingwood blokes, and I like that. And Pitto got under Gawn's skin. He really did annoy Gawn, and I don't think Gawn likes playing against you, and that's fantastic. But I think it might be Cripper's turn this week. I think I'd like to see an angry Cripper out there, and not too angry, but angry enough to just stir up Heaney and Warner and these blokes in the middle. And that's where we've really got to show a bit of dominance, and I'd like a real little bit of niggle in the middle there, and let's hope it happens.
I love that, David. I feel like I can't even say that anymore, because there was a stage where every single week I was asking for more niggle, more of that, because it's my favourite time to watch footy when Carlton are doing that. So I love it. I don't know. I keep mine pretty general this week. I think back to when we went out to the SCG last year. That was probably my least favourite game of last season. I felt like we were really embarrassed by Sydney. It was a pivotal part of our season, and we
did you say you were there last? Did you say you were up there last?
No, thank God I wasn't. I was watching it from a pub with a whole bunch of Sydney people, which definitely made it worse.
I was there. It was terrible.
David.
Rough.
So not heading up there this year, I'm assuming then?
No.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So, no, my grandkids won't be there. So, I went up to see them as well, which made a good weekend last year. So, got up there on the Friday night, disappointed on the Friday night, but spent the weekend with the grandkids, so that was great.
Yeah, no, I love that. But yeah, that's my thing I want to see in this game. Just a completely different, matured team to what team went up to the SCG last year. And, Sydney are the informed team. Let's take it to them. And even if we don't come away with the 4 points, which I think that we will, but if we don't, at least we put in a good shout.
No, I love it. And mine's really just, I want to see more of what I saw in the first half last week as far as that work rate around the footy and making options. I was so hot on that after the Collingwood game that every single time we won possession, we were putting our teammate under pressure with a bad handball because we couldn't deal with the pressure. And against Melbourne, the amount of times we went smart, we went slow to the guy behind, we were creating options, which just created more space behind him, and we were able to continually get better looks inside 50. It's why we're able to be so accurate in front of goal. So I just want to see that work rate where, it got the round of applause, the standing ovation at quarter time, whether you win or not. Like, you're playing good teams. Sometimes you're just not going to get the W, but I just want to see that effort and intensity, because if we bring that every single week, we're going to be content enough with what we're seeing out of them, because it's going to turn into those wins that we're after. So yeah, that's my what do you want to see this week. And that is basically going to wrap everything up for this episode. Let us know in the comments, for those watching and listening, what you want to see from this week. Who are your team changes? Very keen to hear all your thoughts. We'll be discussing it in the comments throughout. But David, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for giving up your time and joining us for this one. Everyone, again, watching and listening, make sure to donate. Links will be in the description and the show notes. We'll be making plenty of posts on our socials at Navy Blue Corner. So make sure, if you can, donate to the Prader-Willi Syndrome Association of Victoria, and make sure to follow David's 15 for 15 challenge. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be interesting. Can't wait to tune in every single day. Links to David's socials will obviously be there as well. Very keen to get into it. David, thanks so much for joining us.
No worries. Great to be here, and go the Mighty Blues on Friday night. Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's get a win up the bloody baggers. See you guys next
On you.
time.
Thanks, guys.